Most people do not wake up to a crisis. They wake up to a pattern. The alarm rings. You lie there for a few seconds, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of another month that looks exactly like the last one. You know the numbers in your bank account even if you have not opened the app yet. The bills, the rent or mortgage, the debt that never seems to shrink, the quiet pressure to show up and hold everything together. Outwardly, life is normal. Inside, there's a slow, steady question that will not go away. Is this really all there is for me? You are not a child anymore. You have lived through enough years to know that life can be unfair, plans can fall apart, and hard work does not always lead to freedom. You may have built a career, a family, a list of responsibilities that would have terrified your younger self. People might even look at you and say that you are doing well. Yet deep down, you feel like a traveler who has walked for a very long time on a road that never seems to lead out of the same town. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about that road, the one you are on. The one that carries your time, your energy, and your money from day to day. This is not a conversation about winning the lottery or chasing some fantasy of overnight wealth. This is about understanding the path you are walking and learning how to step off the old track of constant pressure and onto a different path where money becomes a tool instead of a chain. It is about seeing that you are not broken, you are not late, and you are not alone. You may simply have been handed the wrong map. In this journey, we will speak honestly about work, income, and the quiet fear that if you stop pushing for even a moment, everything will fall apart. We will explore why so many people trade their entire life for money and still never feel safe, and how a shift in the way you think and act can begin to change that. We will look at simple principles that do not belong to any one group or guru. They are patterns that show up again and again when ordinary people build real financial freedom over time. If you are in a season of life where you have more questions than answers, if you feel strong enough to carry others yet unsure how to build a future for yourself, this is for you. You might be tired, but you are not done. You might feel stuck, but this road is not fixed. You can choose a new direction, one careful step at a time. Because this is serious, let me pause. Before the day rushes in, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Only if you truly enjoy what I am doing here. And in the comments, write your location, your time zone, and the time right now, this morning. Now open the curtains and let the light in. Pour a glass of water, maybe brew a coffee or tea. Set your phone to Do Not Disturb, and take one deep breath. Let us begin our journey this morning. Chapter 1. When the wallet is empty but the mind wakes up. You do not remember the exact day it changed. There is no big movie moment, no shouting, no slammed doors. There is simply another morning when the alarm rings and you feel a kind of tired that sleep does not fix. You lie there for a moment, thinking about the same list you always carry in your head. The rent or the mortgage, the card payments, groceries, gas, maybe school costs for your children, maybe medical bills that will not disappear. You know roughly what will come in this month. You know roughly what will go out, and you already know that the gap between the two will be tight, just like last month and the month before. You are not reckless. You are not stupid. You are doing your best to be responsible. Yet no matter how many times you walk this route, it always leads back to the same place. For years, the common answer has been to push harder, work longer hours, Take on a side shift. Cut back on little pleasures. Be more disciplined. Be more grateful. You have tried many of these things. Some months you manage to stay ahead by a small amount. Other months, one surprise expense knocks everything off track. Something breaks in the house. A car needs repair. Work slows down. A family member needs help. On the outside, people might say that you are fine. You have a job. You pay your bills. You keep going. Inside, it can feel different. There is a quiet sense of being trapped in a loop. You are moving, but not really moving forward. It is like walking in circles in a town you know too well. You could describe the streets with your eyes closed. You could predict almost every turn your life will take in the next 12 months, and not in a good way. Sometimes you remember how you felt about money when you were younger. Maybe you imagined that by this age you would be free. Maybe you thought you would have savings, choices, and a sense of space in your life. Instead, you are juggling responsibilities and hoping nothing important falls. You care about your family. You care about doing what is right. Yet you also carry a private disappointment that you do not speak about often. There are moments when this disappointment hardens into blame. You might blame the economy, the company, the government, your upbringing, or your own past decisions. On some days, you blame yourself for not being smarter, faster, or braver. On other days, you feel numb and try not to think about it at all. This is a very human response. When a problem feels too big, the mind learns to look away. Then, one day, something slightly different happens. It might be a bill that finally pushes you over a mental line. It might be a conversation with someone who lives in a very different way. It might be a quiet afternoon when you allow yourself to ask a question that you usually push away. You realize that you have been treating your situation like weather, as if money patterns simply happen to you. And suddenly you wonder if that is the full truth. You begin to notice something. The people around you who seem genuinely free with money do not always work more hours than you. Some of them work fewer hours. They are not always more intelligent in some general way. They simply seem to be playing a different game. They talk about money differently. They make decisions differently. They react to stress differently. While you are trying to survive every month, they seem to be building something. This realization does not immediately fix your bank account. It does something more important. It introduces a crack in the old story that says, "This is just your fate." You start to see that your financial life is not a single event. It is a pattern made of thousands of small choices, thoughts, and habits repeating again and again. The pattern is familiar, and that is why it has been so powerful. Awareness is rarely comfortable at first. When you see the pattern clearly, you may feel a wave of regret. You might replay old decisions and think about where you could have done things differently. You might feel angry that no one ever taught you another way. You might feel late. All of this is natural. It is also not the end of the story. It is the beginning. Because once you see the pattern, you are no longer fully inside it. You are looking at it from the outside. You can start to ask new questions. Instead of asking only how to make it through this month, you can ask what kind of path your current choices are building for the next 5 or 10 years. Instead of asking why life is unfair, you can ask what rules might be shaping this game that you were never shown. In this chapter, the goal is not to blame you for where you are. The goal is to give language to something you have probably felt for a long time. the quiet fear that nothing will change, the quiet hope that maybe somehow it still could. When you name these feelings, they lose some of their power. You can sit with them instead of running from them. You can see that many other people your age carry the same invisible weight. If you are between 30 and 60, you have already survived a lot. You have handled crises, losses, and unexpected turns that your younger self could not have imagined. That strength is real. The problem is not that you are weak. The problem is that you have been walking with a map that only shows one kind of road. Trade time for money. Repeat. Hope for a better year. Repeat again. The shift we are aiming for is simple to describe, but deep to live. It is the move from seeing money as something that happens to you towards seeing money as something you can slowly learn to design. That does not mean control every detail. Life will still throw surprises. But it does mean understanding that your beliefs about money and your daily choices with money form a system, whether you are conscious of it or not. Imagine that you could gently step back from your own life and watch it like a series. You would see the same thoughts appear at the same points in the month. You would see the same reactions to bills, to unexpected expenses, to chances for something new. You would see how quickly you dismiss certain options because they feel risky or unfamiliar. You would see how often you assume that nothing big can change now. This outside view is what we are building together. Not so that you can criticize yourself, but so you can understand the forces that are already at work. Once you see them clearly, you can begin to adjust them. Small adjustments, repeated over time, can bend the path of your financial life more than you might believe at this moment. As we move forward, we will start to talk about those forces in more detail. The way the world measures value, the different methods people use to earn, the reasons some paths always feel heavy and others create more space. Before we do that, though, we will explore something deeper. Beneath every budget, every job, and every bill, there is a current inside your mind that quietly pulls your choices in a certain direction. In the next chapter, we will give that inner current a clear picture so that you can finally see what has been pulling you without your permission for so many years. Chapter 2. The invisible river that pulls you up or down. There is a reason your life with money often feels like it is moving on its own. Even when you promise yourself that this month will be different, that you will worry less or handle things better, you may notice that the same feelings and choices return. It can feel as if some hidden force keeps pulling you back to a familiar place, no matter what you intend. Imagine for a moment that you are standing beside a wide, quiet river. At first glance, the surface looks smooth. The water drifts past in an easy flow. But if you watch a little longer, you begin to see something else. Under the surface, there are two currents. One pulls steadily upstream, toward clearer water and open space. The other pulls downstream, toward darker water and rougher ground. Now imagine that every person is already standing in this river. You are in it. Your friends are in it. Your parents and children are in it. Some are being carried gently toward more space, more options, more ease with money. Others are being pulled slowly toward more stress, more pressure, more fear. The strange part is that many of them do not even know there are two currents. They feel the pull, but they think it is simply how life is. This river is not made of water. It is made of thoughts and emotions. It is made of the stories you tell yourself about money when no one is listening. Stories about what you deserve, what is possible for you, and what always seems to happen in your life. These stories and feelings do not stay in your head. They quietly shape what you notice, what you ignore, what you say yes to, and what you turn away from. Think about a time when you received a bill that was larger than you expected. One person sees that bill and thinks there is never enough. The shoulders tighten. The mind starts to repeat an old line that this always happens, that money always finds a way to disappear. They feel a mix of shame and anger. To escape the feeling, they scroll on a screen or buy something small to feel better for a moment. The bill is still there. The stress is still there. But the habit repeats. Another person sees the same kind of bill and also feels stress. They are human too, but their inner voice is different. They think this hurts, but let me look at the whole picture. They might ask themselves, what can I adjust? What can I learn so that surprises like this do not hit as hard next time? They may reach out for advice instead of hiding. They may cut one small expense on purpose instead of spending more to feel better. The external event is almost the same. The current inside is not. Over time, these different currents carry people in very different directions. If your inner river is filled with sentences like, I always mess this up, I will never get ahead, money is for other people, or if I try something new, I will lose everything, then your behavior will match. You will likely avoid new opportunities because they feel too risky. You will keep your prices low because you are afraid people will walk away. You will stay in roles that drain you because the idea of change seems more dangerous than the discomfort, you know. If instead your inner river carries thoughts like, I can learn this. Many people have started from where I am. It is possible to grow slowly and safely. I deserve to understand how money works. Then you will behave differently. You will still feel fear now and then. Everyone does. But you will be more willing to read, to ask, to try small experiments rather than shutting down. You will treat mistakes as information instead of proof that you should not try. None of these inner sentences appear from nowhere. Many of them were poured into your river long ago. You may have grown up hearing that money is always a fight, that rich people are selfish, that wanting more is shameful, or that life will never give you a break. You may have watched adults around you argue or go silent about money. This shaped what feels normal now. Later, your own experiences added more to the current. A job loss, a failed business, a divorce, an illness, a bad investment, or a long season of scraping by can all deepen the feeling that money is a force that pushes you around rather than a tool you can learn to guide. You did not choose all of these experiences. You did not choose all of these messages. Yet they are in the water all the same. Here is the hard truth and the hopeful truth at the same time. As long as you ignore this invisible river, you will confuse the current with your identity. You might say, this is just who I am. I am not good with money. I am always behind. I am a worrier. You will treat the pull as if it were your nature. But when you learn to see the current for what it is, you gain a new kind of freedom. You can say, this is not who I am. This is a pattern I learned, and patterns can be changed. Changing the current does not mean forcing yourself to be positive all the time. That kind of pressure often backfires. It also does not mean pretending that real problems are not real. The river of your mind is not changed by denial. It is changed by attention and deliberate practice. You begin by noticing. The next time you open a bill, look at your first thought. Not the polished thought you would say out loud, but the raw one that appears before you edit yourself. The next time you are offered a chance to earn a little extra in a new way, watch your immediate reaction. Do you think that people like you cannot do that? That it will surely fail? That you are too old or too young? Or do you think perhaps this is worth exploring in a safe way? You also notice when you talk about money with others. Do you always join in when conversations turn into pure complaint? Do you feel more connected to people when you all agree that nothing ever works? That everything is rigged? That nobody gets ahead? These conversations can feel comforting for a moment. They also deepen the downward pull. Slowly you can begin to plant different thoughts in the river. At first they may feel weak and unnatural, like new plants in strong water. That is all right. You are not trying to shout over your old beliefs. You are simply adding new sentences and returning to them often. Sentences like, I am allowed to learn about money. I can make small changes without blowing up my life. I can grow my value over time. Other people have done this from hard places. As these thoughts are repeated in your own voice, they start to feel less strange. They begin to travel with you when you go to work, when you pay bills, when you think about the future. They do not erase fear or difficulty, but they offer another current you can step into when you are ready. The point of this chapter is not to suggest that everything is in your head. Markets, wages, health, and history all matter. Life can be deeply unfair. Yet even inside that reality, there's a meaningful difference between being pushed by a current you never chose and learning to notice and adjust that current from the inside out. In the next chapter, we will look at how the outside world measures value. You will see that there are quiet rules at work in the marketplace, rules that decide how money tends to flow towards some people more than others. When you combine an understanding of your inner river with a clear view of those outer rules, you gain something powerful. You no longer have to drift without knowing why. You can start to paddle with purpose. Chapter 3. The 3 hidden scales that weigh your income. For most of your life, money may have felt mysterious and personal. You work, someone decides what you are worth, and you either feel grateful or frustrated. It can seem as if every paycheck is a judgment on you as a person. That belief is heavy, and it is not quite true. The world does not sit in a room and decide your value. It does something colder and simpler. It looks at the value of what you do through a kind of weighing system. You cannot see this system with your eyes, but you feel the results in every offer, every raise, and every missed opportunity. It is like standing on a set of hidden scales each time you step into the marketplace. There are 3 main scales. They are not perfect or fair, but they are real. The first scale measures how much the world needs what you do. The second measures how well you do it. The third measures how hard it would be to replace you. Together, they shape the range of income that tends to flow toward you. Start with the first scale, the scale of need. Imagine 2 people who both work very hard. One spends their days doing something that very few people care about. The other spends their days solving a problem that many people face and feel strongly about. Even if they put in the same effort, the second person stands on a scale with heavier weight. The need for their work is higher, so the potential for income is greater. You may already be doing something that is strongly needed. Healthcare, food, safety, education, repair, money management, and emotional support are all areas where demand is constant. The challenge is not always the need. Often the deeper question is how you stand on the second scale, the scale of mastery. The second scale measures your level of skill, not just whether you can perform a task, but how consistently, how deeply, and how well you solve the problems in front of you. Imagine 3 people in the same role. On paper, their job titles are identical. Yet one of them has spent years treating their work as a craft. They study, they take notes, they ask better questions, they try new approaches. When things go wrong, others call this person first. That person is heavier on the scale of mastery. When they speak, their voice carries more weight. When they ask for a raise, there is a real argument behind it. When they go to another company or start something of their own, they bring something rare. They are not just filling a seat. They are bringing a level of competence that others can feel. The third scale is the scale of replaceability. This is the one many people like the least, because it can feel rude and cold. The question here is simple. If you left this role tomorrow, how difficult would it be to find someone else who can do the same work at the same level? If the answer is that many people are waiting to do the same thing for the same pay, then the scale tilts in a certain direction. If the answer is that very few people can truly step in, the scale tilts another way. Replaceability is not only about rare talents. It is about the way you combine things. Maybe many people know your technical skill, but very few combine it with kindness, clear communication, and reliability. Maybe many people can sell a product, but very few understand both the product and the customer the way you do. These combinations are what quietly move you along the third scale. When you look at these 3 scales together, you start to see why 2 people can work just as hard and yet live in very different financial realities. One person may be in a role that the world does not need much, with average skill and high replaceability. Another may be in a role with strong demand, deep mastery, and low replaceability. The difference in outcomes is not about who is a better human being. It is about where and how they stand on these scales. This can be uncomfortable to face. It is easier to think that everything is random, or that hard work alone should be enough. Hard work is important, but it is not the only ingredient. If all your effort is poured into a task that few people need, done at a level many people can reach, in a way that is easy to swap out, then your income will almost always feel capped. The good news is that these scales are not fixed. You can move on them over time. You can choose work that aligns more with real need. You can decide to treat your craft with more seriousness, to become someone who is known for doing things well. You can stack skills in a way that makes you harder to replace. This is not instant. It is a long game, yet it is a game you can actually play. Take a moment to think about your own life. What do you actually get paid to do? Not your job title, but the real problem you solve for others. Do people truly need that problem solved? Or are you stuck in a corner of the market that barely matters? If the need is there, how would you honestly rate your level of mastery? Are you coasting or are you stretching? And if you were gone, would people struggle to fill your spot? Or would they barely feel the change? These questions are not asked to shame you. They are tools to see clearly. For many years, you may have tried to change your income by pushing harder inside the same shape. More hours, more effort, the same path. Now you are being invited to consider the shape itself. Perhaps the path you are on puts you on weak footing across the three scales, no matter how hard you push. The moment you see this, you can begin to make small, strategic moves. You might take on a project that stretches your skills in the direction of deeper mastery. You might volunteer to solve a problem that clearly matters to your team or your clients, even if it is a little outside your job description. You might start to learn a related skill that, combined with what you already know, makes you stand out. Over time, each of these small moves adds weight to your side of the scales. People start to notice that you are not just present, you are valuable. You are not just doing tasks, you are solving important problems. You are not just another name on a list, you are someone they would rather not lose. This is how you slowly shift your position in the marketplace without having to become a completely different person. It is important to say this clearly. You are more than your productivity. You are more than your income. Your worth as a human being is not measured by any scale. At the same time, the world does use these kinds of measures to decide how money flows. Ignoring that fact does not make it kinder. Understanding it gives you some power to move within it. As you think about these hidden scales, do not try to solve everything at once. Choose one small reflection for today. Ask yourself which of the three scales feels weakest for you right now. Is it the real need for what you do, your level of mastery, or your replaceability? Once you have your answer, consider one small action that might, over time, add even a little weight to that scale. In the next chapter, we will zoom in on how most people try to change their financial life. You will see why, even when they understand these scales, many still stay stuck. They rely on one common strategy, one that almost everyone is taught from childhood, and that strategy carries its own hidden trap. Chapter 4. The Trap of Trading Time for Money. From the outside, it looks honest and simple. You give your time, and in return, you receive money. You set an alarm, show up where you are supposed to be, follow the rules, complete the tasks, and a payment arrives at the end of the week or the end of the month. For many years, you may have been told that this is what responsible adults do. Work hard, stay loyal, and you will be fine. Yet if you listen inside, you may feel something else. You may feel that no matter how many days you give, the sense of pressure never really leaves. You may notice that every raise seems to disappear into rising costs. You may see that even when you are good at what you do, your life still feels fragile. One change in the company or in the economy could cut off the flow of money almost overnight. This is the trap of trading time for money. It is not wrong. It is not shameful. Most of the world lives this way. It is simply limited in a way that very few people explained to you when you were younger. Think for a moment about the hidden scales from the previous chapter. The world is always weighing the need for your work. your level of mastery, and how hard it is to replace you. Now add a fourth element: time. You only have so many waking hours in a day. You only have so much energy in a week. Even if you stand strongly on the three scales of need, mastery, and rarity, you are still bound by the number of hours you can physically work. When your income is tied directly to hours, there is a ceiling. At first, that ceiling may be high enough that you do not see it. If you were earning very little before, a better hourly rate or a better salary can feel like freedom. You may celebrate that you can now cover your bills and even have a bit left over. For a time, this is a real victory. But as responsibilities grow, as life becomes more complex, that ceiling begins to show itself. You realize that every improvement in your financial life demands more hours or more intensity. You trade evenings, weekends, or sleep. You say yes to every extra shift. You bring work home in your head even when your body is somewhere else. Your capacity becomes the only reservoir you can draw from, and eventually that reservoir runs low. The deeper problem is that this strategy treats you as the only engine of your financial life. In the river of your thoughts, there is an assumption that money can only move when you are actively pushing. If you stop, the current stops. If you are sick, exhausted, or simply need rest, the flow of income feels threatened. This fear keeps many people from ever questioning the model. They feel they cannot afford to stop and think about another way. There's another quiet cost. When every hour has a price tag, it becomes hard to be fully present anywhere. At work, you may feel the pull of home. At home, you may feel the pull of work. Both places compete for the same limited energy. You are always doing the math in your head, even if you do not put it into words. If I say yes to resting today, will I pay for it later? If I say yes to my child right now, will it cost me at work? This constant calculation drains your spirit. None of this means that employment is bad. Jobs are important. They can provide structure, purpose, and relationships. The trap is not that you have a job. The trap is believing that a job where you simply trade time for money is the only way to live, and that there is no other shape your financial life could take. Think about the invisible river again. When you see yourself only as a worker selling hours, the river inside you is narrow. You look for ways to stretch the same pattern. You ask how you can earn more per hour, or how you can fill more hours with paid activity. These are not terrible questions, but they keep you walking in a small loop. You may not even notice that people in a different part of the river are asking entirely different questions. Now look again at the three hidden scales: the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty of replacing you. In a pure time for money model, even if you become very strong on these scales, the main benefit often goes to the organization you work for. You may receive raises and promotions, which matter, but the structure itself still channels most of the value upward. Your income rises more slowly than the value you are creating. You might feel this most clearly when you think about your future. Ask yourself, if I keep going this way for another 10 or 20 years, what exactly is being built? Beyond survival, beyond paying bills, what foundation am I laying? Will I own systems, skills, and assets that can support me if I cannot or do not want to work this hard forever? Or will I arrive at an older age with the same basic pattern, just with a more tired body? These questions are not meant to make you feel hopeless. They are meant to wake up a new kind of honesty. Many people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond begin to sense that the pure time trade is not enough. They may not have the words for it, but they feel the weight. They feel how fragile everything is. They worry about what would happen if their body or mind could no longer keep up the old pace. If this is you, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not failing at the game. You are discovering that the rules of the game were never designed to give you true freedom. The system of trading time for money was built to keep work moving, not to make every worker financially secure. Once you see that, you can stop taking it so personally. You can step back and ask what other games exist. One of the first small steps out of the trap is simply to name it, to say clearly, my current way of earning depends completely on my ability to show up and trade time, to admit that this feels risky and heavy, to acknowledge that even if you are proud of your work, you would like more stability and more choice than this model gives you. The next step is not to quit your job in a rush. That would only replace one kind of fear with another. The next step is to become curious. You can start to notice people who have added other shapes to their financial life. People who earn not only when they are present, but also through systems, products, or investments that continue to work in the background. You do not have to copy them, but you can let their existence expand your sense of what is possible. You can also begin to shift the way you think about your own hours. Instead of seeing every hour only as something to sell, you can choose some hours to invest in yourself. Time spent learning new skills, understanding how money really works, or building a small project may not pay you today, but it can change what your time is worth in the future. These are hours that build weight on the scales of mastery and rarity. Over time, this shift in thinking prepares you for a different question. You move from how can I work more to how can I make my work create value that continues even when I am not there. You begin to see that your time can be used in two ways. Some hours will always be used to earn directly. Other hours can be used to build structures that earn in the future. When you understand this, the trap of trading time for money becomes less tight. It is still there, but it is no longer invisible. You can walk your current path while quietly planning a new one. You can keep honoring your responsibilities while also planting seeds for a different kind of financial life. In the next chapter, we will explore the idea of money working for you. We will look at how people begin to shift from being the only engine of their income to having tools and assets that carry some of the load. You will see that this is not magic and not reserved for a special class of people. It starts with the same kind of small, steady steps you have already taken many times in other areas of your life. Chapter 5. When money starts working for you. Up to this point, you have mostly known money in one role. Money arrives and then it leaves. It comes in as a paycheck, a client payment, a transfer. It goes out as rent, food, gas, debt, and all the small and large costs of living. You are the bridge in the middle. Your effort is what pulls money in. Your bills are what send it out. It is natural, then, to see yourself as the only engine in your financial life. If you push harder, more money might come. If you stop, everything feels at risk. For many people, this is the only pattern they ever see. Work, get paid, spend, repeat. The idea that money itself could work for you can sound unrealistic, even offensive, when you are tired from holding everything together. Yet there is a quiet shift that changes everything. It is the moment you move from seeing money only as something to spend into seeing money also as something that can be put to work. Instead of every dollar being consumed by today, some dollars are given a job that continues into tomorrow. This idea can feel distant at first. Often when people hear about money working for them, they think of complicated charts or fast-talking traders on a screen. They imagine that this world belongs only to the highly educated, the very wealthy, or the naturally confident. If that is the picture in your mind, no wonder you hesitate to step in. So let us slow it down. Strip away the noise. At its core, having money work for you simply means this. Some of the money that passes through your hands is placed into vehicles that can grow, or can send income back to you in the future, without demanding more hours of your life in return. You move from being the only worker to becoming a person who also manages small workers that never sleep. Before this can happen on the outside, something has to change on the inside. There is often a voice in your mind that says you are not the kind of person who invests, or you are too late, or you will only lose what little you have. That voice may be built from old experiences and stories you heard growing up. Maybe you saw someone lose money in a reckless move. Maybe you were taught that investing is the same as gambling. Maybe you simply felt that the world of assets was not for people like you. These fears matter. They are worth respecting. They are also worth testing. The truth is that there is a real difference between blind risk and thoughtful investing. One is driven by urgency and excitement. The other is built on patience, learning, and clear limits. One throws money into whatever is popular and hopes. The other begins with understanding, even if the starting amount is small. Picture two people with the same extra money in their account. One hears a hot tip from a friend and rushes to put the money into something they do not truly understand. They tell themselves this is their big chance. They do not study the risks. They do not think about what happens if the plan does not work. If it fails, they step back feeling burned and say to themselves that money working for you is a lie. The other person takes that same amount and begins more quietly. They decide that a small piece of what they earn will be set aside on purpose. They accept that this part is not for today's comfort. It is for tomorrow's stability. They read. They ask questions. They choose a simple path that matches their level of knowledge and their ability to wait. They know they will not get rich this month. That is not the point. The point is to begin changing the direction of their financial life. In the early days, the numbers may not impress anyone from the outside. You may think, what is the use of this small amount? Yet something important is happening beneath the surface. You are forming a new identity. You are no longer only a worker who spends. You are becoming a builder of assets. Each time you set aside even a small sum and place it where it can grow or generate income, you are voting for a different future. There will be emotions along the way. Confusion the first time you read about different options. Anxiety when you watch the value rise and fall. Impatience when progress feels slow. All of this is normal. The key is to stay out of extremes. Do not rush into things you do not understand. Do not freeze completely and do nothing for years. Keep learning. Keep your moves simple and aligned with a clear plan. You might choose vehicles that aim to grow steadily over time. You might choose things that send you regular payments. You might mix both. The details will differ based on where you live and what is available. What matters more than the exact form is the shift in function. A portion of your money is no longer a passing visitor. It is a worker that you have assigned to a long-term task. Think of it this way. When all of your money goes straight from income to expenses, it is like working with a team of helpers who vanish the moment they arrive. When some of your money is placed carefully into assets, it is like hiring permanent team members. They may start small and quiet, but over years, they can grow stronger. One day, part of your monthly needs may be covered not by your current labor, but by the work those assets are doing in the background. This does not happen overnight. That is why so many people give up too soon. They start with excitement, then lose interest when they do not see dramatic gains in a short time. The people who benefit most from money working for them are often not the ones who made the boldest moves. They are the ones who stayed steady, kept learning, and allowed time to do its work. You might be thinking that this all sounds fine, but you have nothing extra to set aside. That is a real and painful feeling. Many people are stretched. In those cases, the first step is not to force a large investment. The first step is to prove to yourself that you can create even a tiny gap between what comes in and what goes out. That gap is the seed of every future asset. It might be the cost of one small habit redirected. It might be a tiny part of a side income you create. It might start so small that it feels almost silly. Still, each time you choose to protect that seed instead of spending it, you are training your mind and your money to serve a bigger purpose. You are telling yourself that your future matters enough to receive a piece of today. When you live this way, something else changes. You begin to respect your money more. Not in a fearful way, but in a thoughtful way. You stop being casual about letting it slip through your fingers on things that do not truly matter to you. You start asking a new question when you are about to spend. Is this purchase more important than giving my future self a little more strength? Sometimes the answer will be yes. Often it will not. Over the years, as your understanding deepens, you can refine where and how you put your money to work. You will make some mistakes. Everyone does. The goal is to make mistakes that you can recover from, to learn from them, and to keep going. Little by little, the balance shifts. You carry less of the load alone. Your assets begin to shoulder some of the weight. This chapter is not a complete guide to every possible way money can work for you. It is an invitation to start seeing yourself as someone who is allowed to use this way of thinking. You are not too late. You are not the wrong kind of person. If you can earn even a small amount, you can begin to assign part of that money to a task beyond this month. As you do, remember that this is only one piece of the larger picture. Money that works for you is powerful, but it becomes even more powerful when it is part of a network of different income sources. In the next chapter, we will explore that idea. You will see how people build many streams that all flow into the same life, so that they are less exposed to any single change and more supported by the work they have built over time. Chapter 6. Many streams, one ocean. For a long time, you may have seen your income as a single line. One job, one paycheck, one main client, one source that must carry everything. When that line is solid, you feel mostly safe. When it shakes, your whole life shakes with it. If the company closes a department, if the market shifts, if your health dips, the line thins or snaps, and suddenly all of your plans feel exposed. It is like trying to live from one narrow pipe feeding water into a large house. As long as the pipe works, you are fine. When it clogs, everything stops. Now imagine a different picture. Instead of one pipe, you have many small streams flowing into the same lake. Some are wide, some are small, some are slow, some are seasonal. No single stream has to do it all. When one dries up, the lake level dips a little, but it does not empty. Other streams keep flowing, and you have time and space to adjust. This is the idea of multiple income streams. Instead of relying on a single way to earn, you build several paths through which money can arrive. It is not about greed. It is about stability, flexibility, and dignity. It allows you to step out of constant fear and into a more grounded relationship with your work and your future. The important point is that multiple streams do not mean multiple full-time jobs. Many people resist this idea because they imagine a life where every hour is packed with different roles and constant stress. That is not the goal. The goal is to design streams that fit together, some of which can flow with very little daily effort once they are built. Think of your main source of income as a river. It may be your job, your main business, or your core service. This river matters. It keeps your life moving right now. Around this river, you can begin to shape smaller streams. One stream might be a simple service you offer on the side, something you can do well in limited hours that brings in extra money when needed. Another stream might be a tiny digital product you create once, such as a guide, a short course, or a template that people can buy while you are doing other things. A third stream might be a partnership where you receive a small share of income from recommending or helping to distribute something you believe in. A fourth might be money you have saved and placed into an asset that quietly grows or sends you regular payments. At first, these streams may be very small. You might look at the numbers and feel that they hardly matter. Yet each one changes the shape of your life. Each one teaches you a new way of thinking. Instead of asking only, how can I earn more from my main work, you begin to ask, how can I set up value that continues to pay me over time? There is usually a moment in this journey that people remember clearly. It is the moment they receive money from a stream they are not currently touching. Income appears in their account while they are asleep, or on a walk, or at dinner with family. The amount may be modest, but the feeling is powerful. For the first time, they experience money as something that can move toward them even when they are not pushing every second. That moment can change the story in your mind. Up until then, the inner sentence may have been, I only earn when I am working right now. After that moment, a new sentence becomes possible. I can build systems that earn even when I take a breath. This does not mean you stop working. It means you start working in a way that builds support beneath you. Of course, this vision can also trigger fear. You might think that you are too busy, too old, too tired, or not skilled enough to build even one more stream, let alone several. You might imagine that you need huge amounts of money or time to begin. These thoughts are understandable, but they are not the whole truth. In reality, many streams begin very small and very simple. A person notices that people often ask them for help with a certain problem. so they decide to offer a short paid session around it. Someone who has been answering the same questions in messages for years turns those answers into a small written guide. A person with a main job starts a tiny weekend project that grows slowly over time. None of these moves require perfect conditions. They only require willingness to explore and to accept that the first version will not be the final one. The key is to design streams that do not fight each other. You do not want to build a second life that destroys the first. Instead, you look for ways your existing skills, relationships, and interests can be expressed in new shapes. If you already teach during the day, perhaps a small online workshop in the evening once in a while is a natural extension. If you already know how to fix something, perhaps you can create a simple teaching resource rather than always trading hands on labor. It is also important to remember that not every idea will become a lasting stream. Some projects will bring in a bit of money and then fade. Some will feel wrong for your energy or your values. That is all right. The process of testing and adjusting is part of building your ocean. You are learning more about what fits you and what does not. As you add streams, your relationship with risk begins to shift. When you rely on a single source, any change feels dangerous. You may cling tightly to situations that no longer serve you because you cannot imagine what would happen if you walked away. When you have several sources, even if they are not all large, you gain more freedom to make clear decisions. You are not entirely at the mercy of one employer, one client, or one product. The emotional weight also changes. Instead of feeling that one mistake will destroy everything, you start to see that your life is supported by a network. If a stream slows down, you can ask yourself calmly what is happening here and what can I adjust, while the other streams continue to flow. This is not fantasy. It is a practical way to reduce the level of panic that often surrounds money. This chapter is not asking you to suddenly build a complex empire. It is inviting you to begin thinking like a designer rather than a passenger. A passenger asks what will happen to me if this one path ends. A designer asks, how can I create several paths so that no single change can completely remove my stability? You may already have the early pieces of multiple streams without naming them. Perhaps you have a main job and a small side project. Perhaps you occasionally receive money for sharing your knowledge. Perhaps you have a growing savings account that could, in time, become an income-producing asset. Naming these pieces helps you see that you are not starting from nothing. You are simply being more intentional about what already exists and what could be added. As you listen to this, one question may rise in you. How do I know what streams to build, and how do I keep them aligned with who I am? That is a wise question. The answer is not in copying someone else. The answer is in knowing yourself, understanding your strengths, and staying flexible as the world changes. To do that, you need a particular skill. It is the ability to learn new ways of working, to let go of old beliefs that no longer serve you, and to take in fresh perspectives without losing your center. In the next chapter, we will explore this skill. You will see why the capacity to learn, unlearn, and relearn may be the most important asset you carry as you build your many streams into one strong ocean. Chapter 7. Learn, unlearn, relearn. The skill behind all skills. By now, you have begun to see your financial life as more than a single paycheck. You have looked at the hidden scales of value You have seen the trap of trading only time for money. You have imagined streams flowing into one shared ocean instead of one lonely pipe feeding everything. All of that is important. Yet there is something even deeper underneath. That deeper thing is your capacity to change your mind. Not in a light, casual way, but in a serious way. The kind of change where you look at an old belief, an old habit, an old rule you have followed for years, and you say to yourself, this no longer fits the world I live in or the person I am becoming. When you were younger, most of your beliefs about work and money were given to you. You did not sit down and choose them. You absorbed them. You heard adults say that money is always a struggle, or that people like your family never get ahead, or that wanting more is selfish, or that the safest path is to find one job and hold on to it for life. You watched how they reacted to bills, to risk, to opportunity. All of this flowed into your inner river without your permission. School added its own layer. You were graded on getting the right answer, not on asking better questions. You were praised for following the instructions, not for designing your own path. The message was clear. Learn this one map. Fit into this one system. If you perform well inside it, you will be rewarded. For a while, that may have worked. You studied, you found work, you played by the rules. Then the world began to change faster than those old rules. Technology moved, markets shifted, entire industries rose and fell. The map in your hand began to match the landscape less and less. You may not have had language for this, but you felt it as a kind of friction in your life. This is where the skill of learning, unlearning, and relearning becomes essential. Learning is the part you already know. It is taking in new ideas, new tools, new strategies. You listen, you read, you practice, you add information to your mind. Most people are willing to do this when they feel pressured enough. Unlearning is harder. It means looking at something you are already doing, something that feels familiar and safe, and questioning it. It means asking whether the belief that helped you survive in your 20s is still serving you in your 40s or 50s. It means noticing that the sentence, "I am just not good with money," might not be a truth. It might be a story you have rehearsed since you were young. Relearning is the art of building a new pattern in place of the old one. It is not a single moment. It is repetition. It is taking the new idea out of the book or the audio and putting it into your actual life, in small ways, again and again, until it moves from strange theory to second nature. Imagine your inner river again. For many years, certain beliefs have been like heavy rocks on the bottom. They have shaped the way the water moves. One rock might be the belief that your income can only come from a boss. Another might be the belief that if you try to build something on your own, you will surely fail and embarrass yourself. Another might be that people who have money must have done something wrong. Every time you approach a new opportunity, the water hits those rocks and turns in the same familiar direction. You pull back. You say no. You stay in the loop you know. Learning, unlearning, and relearning is like gently lifting some of those rocks out of the river and placing different ones down. You do not empty the river. You do not pretend there are no risks in the world. You simply shift the way the current flows inside you. Consider a very simple example. Suppose you carry the belief that you are too old to learn new ways of earning. The world of digital tools, online offers, and new business models seems like another planet. Each time you think about it, You hear a voice that says that is for younger people, not for someone your age. If you treat that sentence as a fact, your river is closed. You will ignore any chance to build a small online stream that fits who you are. You will see examples of people your age doing it and think they are rare exceptions. You will protect your comfort now, at the cost of your freedom later. To unlearn this, you might start by catching the sentence in your mind and naming it as a belief, not as a law. You might look for real stories of people your age or older who learned new skills and built new streams. You might talk honestly with a friend about your fear. You might let yourself feel the grief of time past and the courage of time still available. Then you relearn by action. You do not need to launch a huge project. You might simply take one short class, or test one tiny offer, or spend one evening exploring a tool you have avoided. You tell yourself, I am a person who can still learn. Each small action proves that this is true. Over time, the old rock in the river loses its power. The current changes. This process applies to many beliefs. Perhaps you think that money is always a zero-sum game, that if you do well, someone else must lose. That makes you uneasy about earning more, even though you want more stability for your family. You can challenge that belief by studying how value is created, how solving real problems can lift whole communities, how generosity can grow when you are not drowning. Perhaps you believe that every mistake with money is permanent and unforgivable. That belief makes you freeze. You refuse to try anything new because you are haunted by one past failure. To unlearn this, you can begin seeing your life as a series of experiments. Some worked, some did not. All taught you something. You can support this with new behavior, such as making one very small, low-risk test instead of one huge leap. Learning, unlearning, and relearning does not mean throwing away everything you know. You do not have to become a completely different person. In fact, the best changes honor the strengths you already have. Your loyalty, your work ethic, your care for others, your honesty, your sense of responsibility. These qualities remain. What changes is the way you use them in a world that is not the same as the one you grew up in. For many people between 30 and 60, this is the main tension of this season of life. Part of you wants to hold tightly to the old map because it feels familiar and you have already paid a high price to walk this road. Another part of you knows that the landscape has shifted and that if you refuse to adapt, the future will be harder than it needs to be. It is all right to feel that tension. It is all right to feel tired of starting over. What matters is that you do not confuse starting over with starting from nothing. You are not the same person you were 20 years ago. You carry experience, insight, and resilience that can make new learning faster and deeper if you are willing to lay down some of the old burden. The world will continue to change. New tools will appear. New ways of working will rise. Some will fade. Some will stay. You do not need to chase every wave. You do need the ability to look at the river of your own mind and say, I am willing to adjust my course. I am willing to question beliefs that keep me small. I am willing to practice new patterns, even if I feel clumsy at first. Think back to any area of your life where you once knew nothing and now feel confident. Driving, parenting, using a phone, cooking a favorite meal, navigating a job that was once overwhelming. In each case, You went through the same steps. You learned something new. You unlearned old automatic reactions. You relearned better ways until they felt natural. You already know how to do this. Now you are simply being asked to apply that skill to your money and your work. As we move into the next chapter, we will take this flexible mindset and aim it at a very bold idea. The idea that what you once saw as a full year of income could one day become a single month of income, not through magic and not through reckless risk, but through the careful redesign of your streams, your skills, and your structure. The path to that reality begins in your mind, with the beliefs you are willing to release and the ones you are ready to build. Chapter 8. Turning annual income into monthly reality. For many people, the idea of earning in a single month what used to take an entire year feels impossible. It sounds like a fairy tale or a sales pitch. If you have spent decades fighting just to stay ahead of your bills, your first reaction might be a mix of doubt and irritation. You might think that this sort of jump is only for people who started in a very different place. So let us strip away the drama and talk about what this idea really means. Turning a yearly income into a monthly reality is not about waking up one morning with a miracle. It is about changing the structure of how you earn. It is about how many streams you have, how strong those streams are, and how much value you can deliver without being chained to every single hour. Start by thinking about where you are now, but in a new way. In your mind, picture the amount you currently bring in over a full year. Not an exact figure, just a sense of it. That yearly amount is made up of smaller pieces, weeks, days, hours. Maybe one main paycheck, maybe some side earnings, maybe a bonus now and then. For most people, that yearly number rests almost entirely on one main stream. If that stream slows, the number shrinks. If that stream stops, the number collapses. Now imagine your life a few years from now. In that future, your total monthly income has grown to match what used to be your yearly income. What would need to be true for that to happen in a grounded, realistic way? Notice that your mind may jump straight to a single big event, a promotion, a viral product, a huge client. Those things can happen, but if you build your hope only on rare events, you will spend your life waiting. A more reliable path is slower and more deliberate. It uses 3 main levers. The first lever is the value you create in each hour when you are actively working. The second lever is the number of streams you have grown over time. The third lever is the amount of help you receive from systems and assets that keep earning when you are not personally doing the work in that moment. Raising your active earning power does not only mean demanding more money. It means really engaging with the hidden scales you learned about earlier. You place yourself in roles where the need is higher. You deepen your mastery. You make yourself harder to replace through unique combinations of skills and reliability. When you do that, the market often responds with higher pay, better clients, or more favorable terms. But that lever alone has limits. Even if you earn more for each hour, you still face the hard edge of time. This is where the second lever matters. Over time, you add streams, maybe a small consulting offer next to your main job, maybe a product of some kind, maybe a teaching or mentoring path, maybe a share in a partnership. Each stream starts modestly. Each one adds a little more to the total. The third lever is the one that often makes the yearly to monthly shift possible. It is the quiet work done by systems and assets. A system might be an online process that delivers value while you are offline. An asset might be a piece of intellectual property, a digital product, a set of licenses, or money you have invested thoughtfully. These do not appear by magic. You build them, often slowly. Yet once they exist, they can continue to send income your way without asking for constant new hours. When people talk about turning yearly income into monthly income, what they are really describing is the combined effect of those three levers over time. They have raised the value of their active work. They have grown multiple streams. They have built systems and assets that keep contributing. At some point, the sum of those elements in a single month matches what used to be the total of a year built on one stream. None of this means there is no risk, or that everyone will reach the same numbers. Lives are different. Responsibilities are different. But the pattern is repeatable in spirit, even if the exact scale varies. To make this concrete, walk through a simple thought exercise. First, imagine that your current yearly income is like a single road that stretches across a map. It carries all of your weight. Now imagine drawing several new roads on that map. Some are short, some are narrow. They may not be impressive at first, but they give you new ways to move. Your goal is not to abandon the main road right away. Your goal is to reduce the pressure on it. Second, ask yourself where your next small stream could come from. Not a dream project that requires quitting your job and betting everything. A realistic addition that fits your skills and your schedule. Something you can test in a small way, learn from, and grow. Perhaps you have knowledge that others would pay to learn. Perhaps you already help people informally in a way that could be shaped into a clear offer. Perhaps there is a simple service you could provide a few hours each week. Third, consider how you might gradually turn pieces of your effort into assets. If you find yourself answering the same questions again and again, could those answers become a guide that people pay to access? If you deliver a service in a repeatable way, could parts of that process be recorded, documented, or automated? If you have spare energy to learn, could you choose a path that leads to owning something, not only renting your time? As you stack these steps, your monthly income begins to have layers. Your main work, your side streams, your systems and assets. In the early stages, the totals may look only slightly better than before, but the shape is different. Instead of one thin pillar trying to hold up everything, you now have several supports under your financial life. Over the span of a few years, these supports can grow. The side stream that once covered only a small bill might grow enough to cover housing. The asset that once produced almost nothing might become a meaningful source of cash flow. Your main work might shift into higher value roles because of the new skills and confidence you have developed. At a certain point, the total income flowing into your life each month may equal or even surpass what used to be a yearly number. When that happens, it will not feel like a lottery win. It will feel like the natural result of years spent changing how you think, where you focus, and what you build. It is important to keep this grounded. Not everyone will want or need such a dramatic shift. For some people, doubling or tripling their sense of safety and breathing room is enough. For others, the yearly to monthly idea becomes a meaningful target because of the responsibilities and dreams they carry. Children to support, parents to care for, causes to fund, work they want to do without worrying about every bill. What matters is not the size of the goal, but the clarity of it. When you know what level of income would truly change the quality of your days, you can then ask how many streams, how much value, and what kind of assets would be needed to approach that level over time. You no longer hope vaguely. You design. Of course, this raises a very practical question. Where should you build these streams? In what fields? With what kind of offers? For what kind of people? The world is full of options, and chasing all of them will only exhaust you. In the next chapter, we will tackle that question directly. You will learn how to choose your playing fields wisely, so that the energy you invest in building new streams and assets is not scattered across 100 directions, but focused where it can truly support the life you want to create. Chapter 9. Choosing your playing field. Wisely. There is a hard truth that many people never say out loud. You can work with courage, discipline, and heart, and still end up exhausted and stuck if you are building your streams in the wrong places. Effort alone is not enough. Where you choose to place that effort matters just as much as how hard you try. By now you have seen that you can raise your value, build multiple streams, and let money begin to work for you. All of that is powerful. Yet there is a decision that comes before the strategy. You must choose your playing field. You must decide which parts of the huge economic landscape you are willing to walk into, invest in, and build your future inside. Not all playing fields are equal. Some are crowded and noisy, with thousands of people competing to offer almost the same thing for almost the same price. Some are quiet because very few people truly care about what is being offered. Some have strong walls that keep you forever trading time for money, with no real chance to scale. Others are spacious, with room to grow, room to specialize, and room to create systems that carry part of the load. If you have ever poured yourself into a path that left you burned out and bitter, you already know this. Maybe you chased a trend because everyone was talking about it, only to find that it did not fit who you are. Maybe you stayed for too long in a field that squeezed you, because you could not imagine what else you might do. That kind of experience leaves scars. It can make you afraid to try again, even when you know you cannot stay where you are. So let us talk about how to choose more wisely from here. A playing field is simply a space where you decide to bring your energy, skills, and creativity to solve real problems for real people. That space might be an industry, a type of client, a kind of service, a product category, or a theme such as health, learning, repair, or guidance. The exact label does not matter. What matters is how that space scores on 3 questions. First, is there real and ongoing need in this field? Are you stepping into a space where people have deep and lasting problems they want solved, or only into a short-lived trend? When people are under pressure, will they still pay for this help? When times are calm, will they still care? A strong playing field has roots in human life, not only in passing fashion. Second, does this field allow leverage? In plain words, can you eventually deliver value in ways that do not require your direct presence every single time? Can what you do be recorded, packaged, repeated, or delivered through tools and systems? If every unit of value demands fresh hours from you forever, Your growth will always be capped by your energy. You want fields where, over time, you can create offers, assets, or structures that extend your reach. Third, does this field fit who you are? Not perfectly in every detail, but in spirit. Does it make use of your real strengths? Does it feel at least somewhat meaningful to you? Could you imagine staying with it for many years without feeling that you are betraying yourself? A field that fights your nature will drain you, even if the money looks good on paper. Imagine one person who chooses a field only because it is popular. Everyone is talking about it, so they jump in. The need seems high. The potential seems impressive. Yet the daily work in that space demands a personality they do not have. It rewards aggressive networking when they are naturally more thoughtful and steady. It asks them to be constantly visible when they prefer deeper, quieter work. After a while, they feel constant tension. Their streams might grow for a time, but each step feels like pushing a heavy cart uphill. Now imagine another person who chooses a field with care. They look for a space where the need will remain strong. They make sure there is room to create tools or offers that can be reused. They also check in with themselves. Does this work draw on their curiosity? Does it respect their values? It may still be challenging, but the challenge feels clean. When they are tired, they can rest and return, rather than waking every day with a knot in their stomach. The difference between these two lives is not intelligence. It is alignment. You do not have to find a perfect field on the first try. You do need to be honest. If a path that once made sense now clearly conflicts with your health, your family, or your core beliefs, that is data. If a field you are considering looks exciting but fails the test of real need or leverage, that is data too. The point is not to judge yourself. The point is to collect better information before you commit more of your one and only life. There is another danger to watch for. When you first learn about multiple streams, it is easy to scatter your energy across too many playing fields. A little of this, a little of that. A small attempt everywhere. Very quickly, you can feel like you are running between 10 different worlds, never going deep enough in any of them to be truly known or truly effective. A wiser approach is to pick a small number of fields and commit to them. 2 or 3 is often enough. For example, you might decide that your main field is helping working adults learn new skills, with a related field in creating simple digital tools, and a third field in mentoring younger people in your industry. These fields connect. They feed each other. They allow you to reuse knowledge, relationships, and systems. When you are choosing or refining your playing fields, ask yourself questions like these. What problems do I keep caring about, even when I am tired? Where do people already come to me for help? Which activities leave me pleasantly tired rather than empty? In which spaces have I already paid the price of learning the basics? You are looking for places where your lived experience is an asset, not a weight. At the same time, look outward. Are people in this field willing and able to pay for help? Are there examples of others making a good living in this space without living a life you would never want? Is there room not just at the top, but across different levels for people who do good work with integrity? If all of this is missing, you may be staring at a beautiful idea that cannot carry your real life. As you listen to these questions, you might feel a mix of regret and relief. Regret if you see that you have spent years on a field that was never built to support you. Relief that you can stop blaming yourself and start examining the structure instead. Remember, this is not about erasing your past. Every step you have taken has given you insight, resilience, and skills that can be moved into a better space. From this point on, give yourself permission to make wiser choices with your effort. Before you add a new stream, ask whether it belongs on one of your chosen fields, or whether it will pull you into a direction that does not serve your long-term life. Before you say yes to a new demand, ask whether it builds toward the future you want, or simply fills the calendar. You are no longer simply accepting whatever the world offers. You are shaping your own arena. In the final chapter, we will bring all of this together into a single question that only you can answer. How much do you truly want, and why? Your chosen playing fields, your streams, your assets, and your beliefs will all serve that answer. Without it, even the best field can leave you feeling strangely empty. With it, you can build a financial life that does not just look successful from the outside, but feels right and honest on the inside. Chapter 10. How much do you really want, and why? There is one question that can quietly guide every choice you make with money. Most people never answer it clearly. Some never dare to ask it at all. How much do you really want to earn, and what is that money actually for in your life? For years, you may have lived with softer words. You tell yourself that you just want more, or that you want enough, or that you want to feel comfortable. Those words sound reasonable, yet they are slippery. More has no finish line. Enough keeps moving every time your costs rise or your fears grow. Comfortable can mean 10 different things on 10 different days. When your desire is this vague, your actions are vague too. You work, you struggle, you hope, but you do not aim. You drift. Here's the risk that almost no one talks about. If you refuse to choose a clear target and a clear purpose, the world will choose for you. Your employer, your habits, your debt, and your fears will quietly design your financial life in your place. Decades can pass that way. Always busy, always worried, never really steering. At the same time, there is another danger. Some people hear about big goals and swing too far in the other direction. They pick a huge income number because it sounds impressive. They imagine giant houses, luxury cars, and endless status. They chase the number with no deeper reason than pride or comparison. Even if they reach it, they can feel strangely empty because the money is not serving anything that truly matters to them. So the question is not only how much, the question is how much and why. Take a breath and imagine something very simple. Picture a single ordinary day in a life where you feel financially free enough, not perfect, not without any challenge, just free enough. What time do you wake? How do you feel in your body? What kind of work are you doing? And how many hours are you giving it? How much presence do you have with the people you love? What is the tone in your home? Is it tight and anxious or calm and steady? Are there moments in that day where you are able to rest without guilt and give without panic? Now zoom out from that day. What kind of money would it take to support a life like that? A life where your basic needs are solid, where you have a cushion for surprises, where you can invest in your growth, where you can give in ways that feel good to you. Not fantasy, not starving, a grounded life that fits your values. You do not need an exact figure in this moment. What you do need is the courage to admit that there is a level of income that would genuinely change the weight on your shoulders. Not because you could show it off, but because it would let you live that kind of day again and again. Once you sense that number, even roughly, something shifts. Your streams, your assets, your chosen playing fields are no longer vague projects. They are tools. They either move you closer to that life, or they do not. You stop asking only whether an idea is exciting or impressive. You start asking whether it is aligned. This is where you may feel resistance rise up. A voice might say, "Who am I to want that?" Another might whisper that if you choose a number and never reach it, you will feel like a failure. It can feel safer to keep everything blurry than to face clear desire. Yet there is a quiet power in choosing anyway. When you name a specific monthly and yearly level of income that would support the life you want, you are not making a demand on the universe. You are giving your mind a direction. You are saying, "This is what I am building toward. This is the scale of support I want for myself and the people who depend on me. This is the strength I want so that I can stand, give, and breathe." Clarity does not lock you in forever. You can adjust your target as your life changes. What matters is that you stop living in the fog of more and enough someday and start walking toward something you can see. There is a second part to this question that is just as important as the number. Why? Why do you want that level of income? What will it allow you to say yes to? What will it allow you to say no to? Who will be safer because you chose to grow? What work will you be able to do from a place of strength instead of survival? Your reasons are yours alone. Maybe you want to pay off debt that has haunted you for years. Maybe you want to create a calm home where your children do not absorb constant fear about money. Maybe you want to be able to step away from a job that crushes your spirit and move into work that fits you better. Maybe you want to support aging parents, or invest in ideas that could help others, or quietly fund things you believe in. When your reasons are deep and honest, they will hold you up on the hard days. When the progress feels slow, when a stream fails, when you have to unlearn another belief. Empty reasons will not carry you through those moments. Real ones will. This is where the tone must become firm for a moment. If you continue to move through your 30s, 40s, and 50s without facing this question, the cost will not only be financial, it will be emotional and spiritual. You risk waking up one day and realizing that you have spent the best of your energy surviving a life that was never truly chosen. You're not guaranteed unlimited time. You're not guaranteed endless chances to start again. That is why this question cannot be pushed aside forever. How much do you really want, and why? Not what your neighbor wants. Not what a stranger on a screen flashes at you. What you want, given who you are, where you have been, and who you wish to become. Now the gentler voice returns. The one that knows you have tried your best with the tools you were given. The one that understands that you may be tired, afraid, or unsure. The one that respects every year you have carried responsibilities and kept going, even when no one saw your effort. That voice says this: you are allowed to choose now. You are allowed to set a clear direction even if you feel behind. You are allowed to design streams that support you rather than drain you. You are allowed to build a relationship with money that is rooted in respect, clarity, and purpose instead of fear and shame. You do not have to share your number with anyone. You do not have to post it or prove it. For now, it is enough to be honest with yourself. To sit down with a page, write a simple sentence about the income you are aiming for and the reasons behind it. And let that be your private compass. From this point forward, when you face decisions about work, offers, or investments, you can hold them up to that compass. Does this choice move me toward the life that level of income would support? Does this field, this stream, this use of my time serve the why that matters to me? If not, am I willing to say no, even if it looks attractive on the surface? You will still make mistakes. You will still change course. You will still have seasons of struggle, but you will not be wandering blindly. You will be walking a path that you chose with open eyes. The journey you have taken through these chapters has not turned you into a different person. It has revealed tools and pictures that were always available but rarely taught. The invisible river inside you, the hidden scales of value, the trap of trading time for money, the power of money working for you, the strength of many streams flowing into one ocean, the art of choosing your field, the deep skill of learning, unlearning, and relearning. All of that now gathers around one quiet point. How much do you really want, and why? If you hold that question close and answer it with courage, the details of your financial life will begin to arrange themselves differently. Not overnight, not without effort, but step by step, stream by stream. You can move from a life designed by accident to a life shaped by intention. You have already walked through hard seasons that you did not choose. You have proven that you can endure. Now the invitation is to build. When you reach this point, something important has already changed. You no longer see money as a storm that just happens to you. You see patterns. You see the invisible river of thoughts that has been carrying your choices. You understand the hidden scales that weigh your income. You recognize the trap of trading only time for money, and you know that money itself can be put to work. You have imagined many streams flowing into one ocean, chosen your playing fields more wisely, and begun to ask a deeper question about how much you truly want and why. The real outcome is not only a higher income, it is a different kind of life. A life where you are less afraid of every bill that arrives. A life where work is not only about survival, but about contribution and fit. A life where your days are shaped more by intention than by old habits and old fear. You move from being pushed by circumstances into becoming a careful designer of your future, step by step, choice by choice. Now it is time to act. Not with a grand gesture, but with one clear move. Before you rush into the noise of the day, pause for a moment. If this message speaks to you, save it, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe only if you truly want to keep walking this path together. In the comments, write where you are listening from, the time of day, and one specific money change you are ready to make in the next week. Then stand up. Let some light into the room. Drink a glass of water and take one slow, deep breath. This is your life. This is your path to financial freedom. Take the next small step now.